CBA voting is still open. It opened last Thursday. It was extended from Thursday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern to Saturday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. That happened before the world turned upside down. And now that the world is upside down, MDS, it's a no-brainer to me that the players should vote yes on this CBA. Because I believe if they vote no and if they reject this, the owners are going to, first of all, engage in no further negotiations until they can assess the total damage to their overall business interests from the coronavirus crisis and the economic downturn sparked by it. And then after they're able to fully understand how badly it hurts them, that's when they craft a new plan for negotiating with the players and making as much money back that they lost elsewhere from their football teams. So the players are going to get screwed the next time around because when push comes to shove, a strike's not going to work, a lockout's not going to last into football season because the players don't want to miss game checks. They don't want to miss games. Once those are gone, they never come back. That's the reality. And I see where it's heading, right? And I'm convinced. And hey, if you want to say I'm carrying water for the NFL, I don't care. I'm convinced that if this offer isn't accepted, given everything that's happened over the past week, it's not coming back. And, I mean, if the NFL owners had a chance to pull it off the table right now, I think they would. That's why the players who haven't voted need to vote yes. And that's why the NFLPA needs to reconsider its refusal to let players change their votes. Because from the people I've talked to, I'd say a very high percentage of the guys who voted no would now vote yes, recognizing the world has changed and they better take this deal while they still can.
Yeah, and it's especially true of the middle and lower classes of players, the guys who are making the league minimum or near the league minimum, and the guys who maybe they're making more than the league minimum if they make the team, but they're not sure that they'll be making the team. There's a lot in the CBA to like for those players because it increases the minimum salary and it adds spots on the roster, 2 roster spots and 2 practice squad spots. So that's more jobs available for NFL teams. So maybe you're right around player number 53 or 54 on your team. You might not have a job on a 53-man roster. You might have one on a 55-man roster, or maybe you're around player number 63 and you might just barely be making the practice squad, but with 2 more practice squad spots in addition to 2 more roster spots, you've got a better chance of making the practice squad if you don't make the active roster. So those are a lot of players who I think are going to be very disappointed in how it turns out if this CBA gets turned down. And look, if you are one of the last 64 guys cut from a regular season roster at the end of the preseason, or one of the 64 guys struggling to make a practice squad at the end of the preseason, you're going to be looking at yourself. That's 128 players who will be out of work who wouldn't be. And those players especially, I think they've got to be ready to vote for this CBA. And they've got to understand that even if I think I'm good enough that I'll definitely make the roster, I don't know that for sure. I don't know if I'm the second string tight end and my coaches are telling me, hey, you did a great job this year, we're excited about bringing you back. I don't know that they're not going to sign a rookie tight end who wows them in the preseason and then decide to keep only 2 tight ends. You just don't know that. So unless you are one of the guys with a guaranteed contract or you're a player who is so good that you just know you are going to make this roster, you are really playing with fire if you decide to vote no.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the problem is a lot of the guys who should be voting yes based upon their own individual interests, they were influenced by guys like J.J. Watt, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and voted no. And it would be nice if one of those guys, number one, understood that the circumstances have changed, and number two, would go to Twitter and say, hey, you know what, guys? Before the world turned upside down, I was a no. Now that the world is upside down and this offer is still on the table, I'm a yes, because circumstances have changed. And here's the example that I came up with kind of on the fly during PFT Live earlier today. I'm going to try it on you, MDS, and see if you buy this. This is unprecedented to have an opportunity where you can still accept a deal when at the time the deal was made, the world was one way, and at the time you're accepting the deal, the world is a different way. And speaking of the world, the movie was called The World According to Garp, and it starred Robin Williams and Glenn Close, and it was 1981-82-ish. Garp, played by Robin Williams, was looking at a house with his wife, and as they were getting ready to decide on whether to buy the house, a plane flew into it. And Robin Williams' reaction was, "We'll take it." And his wife was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" He said, "Well, the house has been pre-disaster. There's no way another plane is ever going to fly into this house." And I thought of that example because this is the equivalent of the seller and the buyer ready to do a deal. The buyer has made a firm offer on the house, irrevocable. That's the offer. And during the window that the seller has to make a decision, a plane flies into the house. Well, at that point, the seller is saying, hell yes, I'm selling the house, because if the seller says no, the buyer's offer is off the table and it's never coming back. And it sounds unrealistic because something like that never happens, right? Well, right, except in this context with the CBA. It's happened. There's an offer on the table that's been signed off on by ownership, and the world has changed. And frankly, I'm surprised that the league hasn't tried to yank the offer off the table. I think that there are plenty of owners right now that are itching for the NFLPA to say no here. And when it came out Saturday from Jeremy Fowler of ESPN that some owners are hoping that the players vote no, it felt like a weird kind of double reverse psychology. Like, do we want him to vote? Like, are we trying to get him to really vote yes? Are we trying to get him to really vote no? Who knows? But the reality now is the owners are going to yank that offer off the table, and they're going to run away and hide, and they're going to wait to see what the total tally is of what is currently happening, and then the players will get an offer that reflects an attempt to use their football business to earn back money that they lost elsewhere, guaranteed. And I can't help it if guys in their mid-20s, late 20s, early 30s haven't experienced enough in the business world to understand that's how it works because they've been football players their whole life. But guys, that's how it works. And as I said yesterday, and I'll say it again, if my son came to me, he's 23, and if he was in the NFL and he said, what should I do? I wouldn't even need to read the deal. Well, wait, they offered you this deal before the world turned upside down? Now the world's upside down? Take the damn deal.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we have seen just in the last couple of weeks, the stock market is absolutely tanking, and obviously that means a lot of NFL owners have lost a lot of their wealth, and I think they would probably wish they had been a little more cautious and safe with their other source of wealth, which is their football team, and maybe not offering such a long-term deal during such unpredictable times. So these are very unpredictable times, and I think that long-term security, like a 10-year CBA, would be a pretty good thing to have right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Thomas Morstead, who's a member of the executive committee, and he's the Saints punter, he took to Twitter yesterday to explain this is certainty during uncertain times. And the world, once again, has changed. And I wish some of these guys who were proponents of voting no would come out and say, hey, you know what? It is a very different world.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.